The Honorable Mark DeWitt, Chairman and members of the Hawkins County Board of Commission and regular session met this 28th day of April, and I made a mistake. We should have said March. Resolution in reference to the request of the Airport Committee of the Hawkins County Commission to study the economic impact of the airport, public support or non-support of the airport, and legal ramifications of the possible sale of the airport or the county land on which it's situated. Whereas the Hawkins County Airport has been in steady operation as a county-owned facility in the Sigourneyville area for decades. Whereas community leaders have argued the value of the airport by pointing out the attractive nature of Hawkins County in terms of industry recruiting for a variety of corporations and other businesses to build and do business within the county. Whereas the Hawkins County Commission is requesting documented evidence of the impact of the Hawkins County Airport with specific examples of its economic value to Hawkins County. Whereas the Hawkins County Commission is requesting, in addition to evidence of the value of the airport, a report concerning the financial penalty to the county that will take place in the event the airport were to be sold as a result of the grants that have been accepted in order to maintain the airport. Whereas the report shall be presented to the Hawkins County Commission by a member of the Airport Committee by the second scheduled full county commission after the next Airport Committee meeting, in order for the Hawkins County Commission to make more informed decisions regarding the future of the economic feasibility of the Hawkins County Airport. Therefore, be it resolved that a report shall be gathered and presented to the Hawkins County Commission by the Airport Committee to study the economic feasibility, legal possibility, and community support of selling, leasing, or continuing to operate the Hawkins County Airport. Mr. Chairman, I so move.
Okay, we've got a motion from Commissioner Roach. Commissioner Trent, is that a second, or is that for a question?
To me, it's a fluke.
Okay, you just want to take it off of there? Okay. We got a motion from Commissioner Roach, second Commissioner Alvis. Now, questions or comments?
Okay, so can I give a little context?
Absolutely.
What I'm trying to do. So we hear a lot about the airport, and we hear a lot about its benefits, and we hear a lot about citizens not really liking the money that gets invested in the airport. I want to clarify that this resolution has nothing to do with whether I support or not support the airport. What I'm asking for is, can we provide some evidence to the citizens of Hawkins County on the economic feasibility of continuing to operate it as is and what it would cost us to sell it. And what I think, and I don't know this because the report has not been put together yet. I know we have some documents in front of us that I'm sure somebody will reference it pretty soon. But what I think is that we have taken so many grants over the last few years that it would be very difficult for us to sell it if we were to just cut ties and roll on. But I can't say that for sure because I've not pulled the evidence to look at the documents. That's what I'm asking for, is can we have some evidence that suggests that it does provide for economic feasibility of Hawkins County and that it would be a detriment to Hawkins County to sell it or lease it. I'm just asking for a report to be put together. So this in no way has any impact on the airport itself. It's just, can we provide some evidence of its success for our community?
Okay, is that all, Commissioner Roach?
Yes,
all right, Commissioner Barrett.
Commissioner Roach, under your resolution, when you're compiling reports and evidence, things like that, would the airport committee have the flexibility or the leeway to have a professional consultant be brought in and looked at it, or is it just strictly airport committee?
So, Commissioner Barrett, the way that I wrote it really just kind of puts the emphasis on the airport committee to decide how they want to handle it themselves. And I also didn't want to call a special called airport committee meeting just to talk about this resolution because obviously it's going to cost us money to do that. So I wanted to wait until the next scheduled airport meeting comes up, so I wanted to leave it somewhat close. Could they? Yes. I don't know that I would support that as a member of the committee because you're talking about spending more money to collect evidence that we can pretty much pull from contracts and grants. And I've been in contact with the Tennessee Division of Aviation already, and they've been very forthcoming with documents and so on. So I don't know that we need to only because I want to spend more money than we need to hire somebody to do it for us.
Is that what you need to know, Commissioner Barrett?
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Barker.
I'd like to recommend, since this didn't come before the airport committee to start with, that we go ahead, as chairman of the airport committee, I'd like to go ahead and put a group together to do this. Jason, I'd like for you to head it up, and maybe Bobby, Jinx, if you would work on it, and John, would you be willing to? And that way, we've got a committee together to go, a steering committee that can put the information together, and that way it's not gonna cost additional money to the county to pay the airport committee.
All right, Commissioner Gillum.
So, first of all, I'm fine with doing the study if that's what we want to do. I'm certainly not against making sure that it's feasible. I'll say this, so number one, the airport's in my district. So I started trying to learn about the airport, talking to people about the airport when I first decided to run, because I've heard, it's been highly debated for years. One thing that I actually talked to a gentleman last meeting, before our meeting began, we were discussing the airport, just a taxpayer, and something that I didn't put numbers to it until now, but I told him, folks that use the airport, I would imagine if you own an airplane, you probably have a pretty expensive house. You're probably paying a high amount of tax revenue. We want to attract those people to Hawkins County. So I got the lease agreements from the mayor's office, and I looked up the average assessed property value of those who are leasing hangars, and that's $363,500 is the average assessed property value. I believe Mr. Shanks has told us previously that his guesstimate of the average was the average assessed value in our county was about $150,000. So that would mean the people who are using the airport are about double that, okay, of the average assessed property value. The average tax revenue that those folks are paying is about $1,978.54. Okay, so point being that we want to attract people who are building nice houses and who are paying large amounts in tax revenue. That makes it easier on everybody, right? I will say some of those who are leasing live in Kingsport. Okay, some of them, there are a few of them, I think 3, if my memory serves correctly, that live in Sullivan County. And what I would say to that is they're driving here, they're spending money here, they're obviously paying us hangar rent at the airport. In addition, they're spending money while they're down here using that. So I think that's something that we need to consider. Also, on the gasoline, that's the one thing. Miss Davis has done a nice job keeping the airport committee informed on the expenditures and the revenue of the airport. Last year, the day-to-day operations cost us $1,362. Okay, is what it cost us to operate the airport. But one thing we did not have is fuel sales, the money generated from fuel sales. Okay, so that figure is $4,953, which comes out to about $700 a year. Now that doesn't sound like much, but there's a couple of things to consider. One, there's still gas in the tank, right? So we still own that gas that's there currently. We do not have a figure on that, so it's hard to quantify that asset, but it is an asset, right? But that is from 2017 through 2024, that is it's averaging about $700 a year. We've also tripled our hangar revenue, okay? In 2018, 2019, we brought in $4,975 from hangar rent. In 25, 26, we're projected, based off the contracts that are already in place, we're projected to bring in $15,286 in hangar revenue. And Mayor, I'll ask for your guidance on this. My understanding is, with some of the updates that we have made and the updates that we're planning to make to the terminal that will open opportunities to spend grant money on additional hangars. Is that correct?
What happens is the Aviation Department of Tennessee Department of Transportation guides us through a series of what we need to do at the airport. And they, when it comes to the top of the list, which is what the improvements at the terminal are at the top of the list right now, then they find the grant money for us to go ahead and do it. Grant money for the airport used to cost us as a match 5 cents on the dollar. It's down to 2.5 cents on the dollar now. So once we get the hangar, the terminal renovations done, then we can move on to building hangars and finding money for that. We build a hangar, and there's demand for hangars. There's a waiting list. When we build hangars, then we can get some more revenue from rental of them. The airport should be at a break even in the next 2 years.
So and to verify what the mayor just said about the hangar demand, talked to several months ago. I went. It would have been last summer. Actually went up to the airport just to drop by there. I do that from time to time. And there was 2 pilots actually at their hangar. I got an opportunity to have a conversation with them, and they were talking about. They said, "Listen, you can fill this whole place up with hangars." He said, "If you can build them," he said, "there's people to rent them." I also talked to another pilot this week who actually does not use the Rogersville airport, but he verified as well. He said, "Listen, we can't." He uses Morristown, and he said, "There's not enough hangar space." He said, "I promise you, if you can build it, people will rent them." So I just wanted to point out that we are working toward getting the airport to be not only break even, but to be a revenue maker for us. I think the best argument for selling against the airport would be to say, well, you could generate a lot more tax money if you separated that off into houses, if you sold it off and separated it off into houses. But I think that you would find, number one, it's going to take a long time to do that. And the benefits of the airport, much of which is displayed in this report, and I've talked long enough, I'm not going to go through that, someone else can. But the benefits far outweigh what you could get if you sold it and waited 20 years, 25 years for somebody to come in there and develop it, get the lot sold, get houses built. That's my opinion. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Commissioner Gillum. Commissioner Gibson.
Thank you. I'll try to be short. I have, in reference to the paperwork that's in front of you, that's the economic impact study from the state. In reviewing this resolution, I did find this available from TDOT, and just wanted to point out a few different things on that. On page 5, on the right-hand side of the highlight area, it describes how they measured that total. We won't go over that, but just for you to reference. On page 11 and page 19, it references Hawkins County Airport. Just showing the economic impact that the state's conclusion came to at $1.4 million. So I'm totally in favor of, if we want to sit and do some numbers and figure out what it's going to cost, what the penalties would look like. But I think it's just from the numbers that have been presented already from the operational day-to-day expenses, it's going to, we're not spending a ton of money on the airport. That's all. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Gibson. Any further comment, question?
I've got, can I speak?
Yes, sir.
I'm thinking that you can't put a value on the only airport in Hawkins County that if we had something like Helene, or you need to move a lot of disaster material quickly, I'm not sure how you put a value on that, but it's probably something that nobody's even considered, that emergency services in a disaster, that's going to be the most logical place, probably the only place in Hawkins County you can get a plane in big enough to deliver those kind of supplies. So, you know, when you're looking at eggs over here, what versus what it costs, you can't put a price on what what it costs you when you have it and you can't use it or it's not there. And, you know, just like what you were talking about with the people who use the airport paying property tax, well, everybody pays property tax. But if you can generate something that stands on its own and is usable when you need it, then, you know, if it's even close, it's probably a pretty good deal as far as taxpayer money spent.
Thanks for your comment. Yes, ma'am?
Yes, UCHC just wanted to appreciate Commissioner Roach's resolution, and I feel like all of the points brought at this meeting, we would love to read that in an official report generated by the special committee that Commissioner Barker just created for that purpose.
Okay. Mr. Palmer?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to echo the gentleman talking about supplies being flown in. You know, during Helene, we seen the Tennessee National Guard flying in helicopters. We see 6 or 7 Black Hawks flying over the house daily, coming in, bringing in supplies to Greenville, landing in Greenville. Well, they don't need to run away to do that. You know, you got Highlands air evac with Ballard being able to land anywhere. If they had to land multiple helicopters in that area, the airport's a perfect place. So I think that's a good point that you have made, that just being able to get supplies in and getting people on the ground in the middle of the county, you know, God forbid a natural disaster shut off means to get into that area. That's what you can't measure. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Gillum?
To the point that she just was talking about with wanting an official report, I mean, we certainly we can do that. I think there's a misconception that the airport committee isn't watching this on an ongoing basis, right? The perception from many in the public is that we just spend money on it left and right, and we don't know what it's making, we don't know what they're doing, we don't know this, we don't know that. And that may be true for some folks, okay? That's not true for myself. And vice chair of the committee, I believe Nancy, the chair of that committee, does her best to stay in tune with the impacts of that. So, you know, I think if you want to do a committee, that's fine. I think it'll be a short one. I think we've covered most of it right here today. The only number we don't have is what it would cost, or that I don't have, is what it would cost to repay the grants if we shut it down.
We have an answer to that, if you'd like it.
Oh, you have the answer?
For like 4.1 million.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if we shut it down today, we have 4 million. That was the big question mark that I wasn't sure of. You know, the other option would be to cash starve it, let it deteriorate until you don't have to repay that money. And in my opinion, that's not a good decision. Last point I'll make, I think what it comes down to is there's some folks who just are against the airport. They just don't want it there, and they're looking for a reason to justify not wanting it there. And I think there's just a belief that it is not managed well, and that we're pouring too much money into it. And I think, and that's fine, I respect that opinion. I just disagree with it, and I'm not sure that forming a special committee is going to change anybody's opinion. I think we could put that report out, and this time next year, there will still be folks coming down here talking about the airport. I think everybody here is dug in. I think they know what they believe about the airport that's on this commission. I think any special call committee would be for show and only to make people feel better. I don't think it would serve any actual purpose, in my opinion.
Commissioner James?
The airport reserve balance is projected to be in 24-25, $85,000. The reserve is used for the airport only, and that's from hangar rentals and income for gas. That money, this $85,000 we're talking about, would be able to be used for that 2.5%
Yes,
on
sir.
these payments
Yes.
that we're talking about. The 2.5% that we have to pay. Now, if anybody in here knows anything about a set of apartments, if I can build a set of apartments here in Rogersville and it cost me 2.5% of what it cost to build for me to build them, why wouldn't I do that? I mean, this is a no-brainer. I mean, why would you not build these hangars when you got people, practically begging to rent them? When you're building them for 2.5% of the cost. This is, you know, it don't take a rocket scientist to figure that out.
Thank you, Commissioner Jenkins. Commissioner Rhodes.
And I'll finish with this. With the amount, okay, so if it benefits the county, I'm 100% in favor of it. Personally, I believe that it benefits the county. But when you have this many people in Hawkins County calling us and asking us for, show us where, show us why, I don't believe it's wasted time to be transparent with the voters of Hawkins County, with the taxpayers of Hawkins County, and say, here's the evidence for why it's a good thing to have or not. Now, at the end of the day, if you look at evidence, you see what it says, and it's counter to your belief, and you choose to believe the wrong way, then you're choosing willful ignorance, right? You're choosing not to believe something given the evidence that tells you otherwise. What I'm asking for is, can we not show the taxpayer with evidence without talking, without saying all these things? And I appreciate that I've heard more positive things about the airport tonight than I think I've ever heard in a commission meeting. That's great. I'm happy about that. And if my resolution did anything, it made us study a little bit. It gave you some facts that you could report. And to be honest with you, we litigated the resolution and got off topic because really the only thing he's asking for is a report. We've been on germane probably for the last 20 minutes. We weren't getting the report. We're asking for a report to be done. So with that, Mr. Chair, I'll renew my motion. And if you don't want us to do a report to show the taxpayers what the benefit of the airport is, vote against.
All right, Commissioner Gill, one more time.
So to imply, to say that we've not been transparent, every airport committee meeting is publicly sunshine. It's open to the public. We're here tonight discussing these figures in public. These documents that Mr. Jinks was discussing about the reserve, and then me with the operations, all of those have been discussed openly in public meetings. All of them have. So I guess we say we need a public report. How much more public do we need to make it? And if we want to do that, I'm just fine with it. I don't care. I just think that it is, and to be clear, this information we're discussing, with the exception of the gas revenue and the tax revenue that I discussed, none of that's new. None of that's been done in the last week, 2 weeks, 30 days. We've been discussing this for months in public meetings. I think that some folks think that there's just more to the story, and unfortunately, I just don't believe there is. But if it takes a special call committee to prove it, then by all means, vote in favor of the resolution.
Mr. Chairman, I call the question.
All right, question's been called, so we're just going to go ahead and vote. So, go ahead, put the vote up. Questions were called.
I was up for the questions called.
Was she on the board, Mayor?
Yes, it was.
Yes, she was.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Grant.
I know you don't like me to speak, but I do get to speak too.
I'm telling you,
All
you're
right,
right, to
Mr.
speak.
Chairman, I see no reason for having a special committee that we're going to pay to bring the same report together that we've already brought here tonight. Why can't the airport committee, as it is, put this report together and present it to the public? To me, that's common sense. We don't need to spend on any more meetings or any more special people to put on the airport committee. You said what needed to be said here tonight. And that's what I've got to say. And I don't care whether you like what I say or not.
Okay, go ahead and continue voting, please.
He thought he didn't think we had.
6 yes, 6 no, 1 abstain, 2 absent.
All right, the resolution fails.